Welcome to part 1 of the series to create an Instagram clone in FlutterFlow and Supabase. So in the previous video we explained the general workflow as well as all of the pages of the app, and in this video we'll be starting to create the actual FlutterFlow project and Supabase project. So we'll start with creating the registration pages over here. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to register for a FlutterFlow account, obviously, but it's very simple to register for a FlutterFlow account. You just link your Google Gmail account or any email that you have and you should be good to go. And once you have logged in successfully to your FlutterFlow account, you should be brought to this dashboard over here. So what we want to do is we want to create a new project, and we want to create a blank project from scratch. We just have to give the project a name. Let's just give it Instagram clone. We can press enter to create a blank project, and this should take some time to set up our project for us. So for the theme, we can just leave it as the default theme for now. We don't want to set up Firebase because we are using a Supabase backend. So then we can just press on start building and you should be given this base app over here. Alright, so now we have this home page over here, but I want to create this registration page exactly like this. So what we can do to add a new page, we can click on add page, and we can actually search for an already existing page template which FlutterFlow provides for us. So you can just search for auth pages, which is what we want, and we can choose one that roughly looks like this Instagram login page. I think this one looks about right, so it'll be create account to page. So we just click on this and we can click on default theme. For the page name, we'll just name it as register page because this will be our register page. Alright, so our register page should look something like this. So we'll just get rid of this text for now. This will be our Instagram logo. So we want this to be centered. So under alignment, we'll click on this to center the text to the middle of the column. We also don't need this anymore. So let's just remove this text over here. And we can also remove this gradient since we don't need that anymore. Then we also want to add some top padding so that we have some space over here. So to add padding, you can go and click on this text box, and you can see that there's this padding field over here, and we can add some top padding of, let's say, 48. Maybe let's add even more, 96. And we also want some space between this title text as well as the email password and confirm password text fields. So what we can do is we can add some bottom padding to the text now. Let's add bottom padding of 24. And let's rename this text to Instagram. And how you do that is you change this text field property over here. Cool. Instead of Instagram, let's just call it Megram, so that we do not get a copyright strike from Instagram. If you also want to change the fonts of this text over here, you can actually go to text properties, and you can see that there's this font family field which allows you to change the font of your text. You can also import your own custom fonts. I'll not be showing how to do that here. It's actually pretty simple. You just have to download the font file and then you upload the file here and you give the font family a name. So yep, it's pretty simple. But for this, let's just choose a font that is curvy, looks like Megram. I think that looks pretty good. You can also increase the font size to, let's say, 48 so that it's bigger, and under the font weight you can also change the font weight. Oops. Yep, so you can click on this drop down and you can choose any font weight you want. Let's choose bold for now. Yep, that looks pretty good. Then this will be the email text field, followed by the password text field as well as the confirm password text field, which we need in order to register our new user. Alright, so at this stage, we already have the base UI of our register page done, but as you can see, there are lots of errors over here. And this is because we have not linked any authentication provider with our FlutterFlow app. So what we need to do is we need to go to Supabase. I already have my Supabase account here. You also need to create a new Supabase account, which is very easy as well. And once you have a new account, you want to create a new project. And for the project name, you can just name it anything you want, but it'd be good to give it the same name as the one in FlutterFlow. For the password, you can just generate a password if you don't want to think too much about it. And for the region, you just choose the region that is nearest to you or the region that is nearest to your consumers when you publish your app. So I'll just click on create new project, and it should take some time to create the Supabase project for us. So let's wait a while for that, and I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so once your project has been successfully set up by Supabase, you should be able to see this screen. And now what we want to do is we want to link our Supabase project to our FlutterFlow project. So how we can do that is we can go over to project settings on the left over here, and we'll go to API under configuration. And you should be able to see this project URL as well as project API keys. So in FlutterFlow, go under settings and integrations, and we want to scroll all the way down to integrations over here. You can see that there's an option for Supabase. So we'll click on that, and we want to enable Supabase. And two fields magically pop up is the API URL as well as the anon key, which we can access from our API settings in Supabase. So for the project URL, we'll copy this and we'll paste it under API URL. And for the anon key, we want to copy the anon public key and we'll paste it over here. Then we'll get schema. And once you get schema, now we want to enable authentication so that we can use Supabase authentication in our FlutterFlow app. So we'll scroll up over here, and under app settings, you can see there's an option for authentication. So we want to enable authentication. For the authentication type, since we're using Supabase's authentication, we'll just click on Supabase. And for the entry page, we'll select the register page. This is the page where the user will be directed to for the first time where they enter their app and they are not logged in yet. So this will be the register page, and for the login page, we want to, once the user has successfully logged in and created our account, we want to redirect the user back to the home page. So that's it for authentication, and you can see that most of our errors are gone. If you take a look over here, you can see that the errors are due to Google not being supported as well as Apple not being supported. So let's just click on Apple and delete this button for now. But since we're going to be implementing Google Sign-In, we'll keep this button for now. But what we'll do to get rid of the errors is click on this Actions menu over here for the Google button. We'll open the Action Flow Editor, and we'll just really quickly go and delete this action. So the error should now be gone. Yep, it's gone. Alright, so now that we have linked our Supabase project to our FlutterFlow project, we should actually be able to log in and create a user. If you click on this Create Account button over here, and you go under Actions over here, you can see that there's actually been some actions which have been pre-assigned because we used the FlutterFlow template. But because for learning purposes, let me just delete this action for now, and let me show you how you can actually add an action to allow the user to sign up and create an account using Supabase. So the first thing that we tend to do is that when the button is tapped, so this is the on tap event over here, we want to add an action. And we can search for Supabase. And the action that we want to choose is this Create Account action. So for the auth provider, it will be the email auth provider. For the email field, this is our email address, which is taken from our email text field over here. So this is the email address. Next will be the password field, which will be taken from our password text field. And last but not least will be the confirm password field, which will be taken from our password confirm text field, which is over here. So that is how you add the action to allow the user to actually create an account using Supabase authentication. Alright, so this is it for our register page. Now, since our login page is actually quite similar to our register page, you can go ahead and right click on our register page and we'll just duplicate this page. First thing that we want to do is we want to rename this register page copy, and you can scroll up and we can click on this root page over here, and we want to rename it to login page. Now the login page is almost the same as the register page, except that it no longer has a confirm password field, so we'll just delete this text field for now. This button should not say create account, but it should be saying login or sign in. So we can go over to this button text field property and we'll replace create account with sign in. And for this text over here, instead of it saying already have an account signed in here, we just want to say don't have an account. So don't have an account. Then you can say register here. But now we have to go to this sign in button, and since we are no longer creating an account but rather logging in the user, we have to change this action over here. So we want to first delete this action, and then we want to add a new action, and we'll search for Supabase, and instead of creating an account, we want to log in. For the auth provider, it will be the email provider as well, and for the email field, it will be our email address text field, and for the password field, it will just be our password text field. So now instead of creating a user, it's just logging in the user. One more thing is that whenever the user clicks on this text over here, we want to redirect them back and navigate them to our register page. So we can click on this action flow editor and we can add a new action on tap. So when the user taps it, we want to navigate to, and you can see that there's a navigate to option, and we want to navigate to our register page. And for navigation, the FlutterFlow also includes some transition animations which you can browse over here, and you can slowly sort of try them out yourself, but we'll just stick with the default for now. For the register page, it also has this line of text, so we also want to add an action to this. So we'll choose the onTap event, so whenever the user taps on that text, we want to navigate the user to our login page instead now. Alright, nice. So now we have our login page as well as our register page done. And one more thing that I forgot to do in Supabase was to go into authentication and go into providers, and under the email provider over here, we want to disable confirm email as well as secure email change for now. Later we'll be seeing how we can allow the user to verify their email by sending them a confirmational email message with a link that they have to click before they can verify their email. But to make this tutorial, this beginning part of this tutorial easier for now, we'll just disable those and then we'll save it over here. Alright, so now that we have both of these pages over here, one more thing that I like to do is I like to go to the home page, and under this column widget, we will add a new widget, and we want to search for button, and we'll add a new button. So just add a new button over there. We can align it to the center of the page, and this button will be a logout button. So we'll change the button text to logout for now. It's a very rough button, but it will do for now. Then we can go to actions, and we want to add a new action to this button. So whenever the user taps this button, we want to log the user out. So we can just search for Supabase, and we can select this logout action. So this just logs the user out. It's that simple to implement authentication. Alright, so that's actually all we have to do to implement authentication in our FlutterFlow apps using Supabase. How easy was that? So we can go ahead and actually test our app to see if it actually works.
One eternity later.
Okay, so once test mode has successfully booted up, you should be brought to this register page. Since this is our first time entering the app and we have not created an account or signed in yet, we will be brought to the register page. If we try to go and click on this text over here to sign in, you can see that we are now brought to the sign in page instead. But since we don't have an account just yet, we'll just click back to the register page. And let's type in an email. We can use the test email, so test gmail.com, and we can also type in a password. For this password, I'll just use 123456. You can tap on this eye icon to show the password. And actually, let's see what happens if we type in a wrong password. So we type in passwords that do not match and we try to create an account. You can see that at the bottom there's a snack bar over here which prompts the user to say that the passwords do not match. Now, what if they match, but if the password is too short, so it's less than 6 characters long? You can see that once again it prompts the user that the password should be at least 6 characters long. If we do not use a valid email here, but our passwords are correct, Supabase is still smart enough to detect that the email is invalid, so it doesn't allow the user to create an account. Now let's just give it a correct email. Oops, I forgot the L over here. Yep, a correct email as well as valid passwords over here. So now if we try to create an account, you can actually see that Supabase gives us this error over here. And that is because it is due to Supabase's new update, which does not allow emails which are not verified to actually create a new account. So what we can do is we can use our email, the actual email that's linked to our Supabase project that we use to create our Supabase project. Or to circumvent this issue, the other solution would be to link a custom SMTP service to our Supabase project. So if we go to project settings and under authentication, and we scroll down over here, you can see that there's this SMTP settings, and there's a toggle to enable custom SMTP. So for pure testing purposes, you don't have to link a custom SMTP. You can just use the email that is linked to your Supabase account. So if we try to use the email and we create an account, you can see that it has been successfully created. We can go into our Supabase project under authentication, and we can see that a new user has been created. So that's very nice. We can also try logging out. And now if we try to sign in and log in to our account that we created previously with the correct password and we can sign in, you should be able to see that you are able to successfully sign in. But now what if you want to publish your app and you want to allow other users to sign into your app? So we have to go to project settings under authentication in configuration, and we have to scroll down all the way to SMTP settings over here. And what we have to do is we have to enable a custom SMTP service. Now the one that I like to use is called Resend, and you can also create an account. It is free to create, and once you create an account you should be brought to this dashboard over here. But for Resend, you would also have to connect your own custom domain. And if you like a video on that, you can go on YouTube to search Resend custom domain setup, and it should teach you how to create a custom domain. Alright, so once you have successfully connected your domain to Resend, the next step we have to do is we have to create a new API key. So under API keys, we'll click on create API key, and we can give our API key a name. So this can be Instagram clone. For permission, we can just click on sending access, since we don't need full access. For the domains, you can just click on the custom, your own domain that you linked. So you can click on add, and make sure to save this API key somewhere, because this is the only time that you can see it. So I'll quickly save that in my notepad somewhere. So I'll just save it here. Then when you click on done, you should be able to see that there's a new API key over here. Alright, so now we can go to settings, and then we can go to SMTP, and this is where all the information is to connect with Supabase. So under Supabase, you enable custom SMTP. For the sender email, you choose the email that you created with your domain. So for mine, it will be, this is my email with my domain name. For the sender name, this is the name displayed in the recipient's inbox, so you can just put anything for now. And now for the host, it will be this value over here. So I'll just copy this, and I'll paste it here. For the port number is 465 for this, so 465. For the user is Resend, so it's not this, the password is not this. the user is resend. And for the password, this is the API key that we saved just now. So it's all of this. Alright, so now we can click on save. And now we have linked our custom SMTP to Supabase. So now if we go back to our FlutterFlow project and we try to create a new user with an email account, a different email account, such as test@gmail.com, you should see now that it works and we no longer get the error that the email is not verified. We can also try logging into the test email. When we sign in, we should see that we have been able to sign in as well. And just one last check, we can go to authentication and you can see that the test@gmail.com user has been successfully created. Actually, one more thing that I would like to change is that whenever the user first logs, and actually one more thing that I like to change is I don't want the user to automatically go to the register page. Instead, I want the user to go to the login page. So we can go to settings and integrations, and under authentication, instead of the entry page being the register page, I want it to be the login page instead. Alright, so that wraps it up for this video. We are done with our registration pages. And in the next video, we'll actually be starting to work on the UI of the home page as well as the posts over here. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next video.